Um, Now there was a point where Donald Trump was talking about Andrew Jackson and the tariffs. The reason tariffs worked back then was because, let's be honest, the reason tariffs worked back then was how they were living. That's the really only the reason that it worked. When Andrew Jackson was around, I don't even remember what president Andrew Jackson was. But anyway, when Andrew Jackson was around, everything was homegrown. When you had your house, you didn't have a mortgage on your house. You got your house built, a one-time payment, or you did the work, or you paid some people to come over, get drunk with them. They help you build a house. You didn't have a car. You had a horse. You didn't go to the grocery store. You went down to the farmer who had the food out there, who may have had a shop, and you bought from him. So the reason tariffs worked back then is because everything else they were building right there. You had you a blacksmith. It wasn't like he needed to outsource shit. He was getting stuff right here and they were just putting it out there. So the reason tariffs worked back then was you weren't buying much. You were living off of 10 cents a day. It didn't matter. There was no income tax back then. There was no taxes. So the tariffs, they worked because how much stuff were we getting from England? When Andrew Jackson was around, maybe like, give me a second. (1829 to 1837) was when he was president. He was born in 1767. Do we know what was going on in 1767? Let me tell you what was going on in 1767. Not a motherfucking thing. All right, I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Wasn't shit happening in 1767 to where tariffs played such a big role. The only thing we had going on 1773. So our tariffs were only with who? England. It wasn't. Who did we have tariffs on? We beat their ass in the war. We only had tariffs on them niggas. There wasn't no other country. We thought we was in fucking India and we thought we were getting spices. There wasn't no tariffs that were like knocking doors down. We sure the fuck wasn't the richest. We wasn't making any money back then. We were getting our back kicked in by goddamn England. That's why we had the Boston Tea Party. No taxation without representation. They were taxing the hell out of us, but they wasn't giving us a motherfucking thing. So when we implemented tariffs, it wasn't like that money was coming in and they were fixing shit up. No, he just doesn't know history. That shit just sounds good. We were nowhere near the richest. Even with inflation, we were still nowhere richer than we are today. It's just all complete, utter bullshit, man. And you hear supporters giving them damn tariffs. You wasn't paying for electricity in 1776. You were paying for motherfucking candles in the window. Blow out the candles. The British are coming. The British are coming. It wasn't no electricity. You had your own little farm in the backyard. You were producing your own produce. Tariffs didn't do shit back then. What were they bringing in? Tea? It was the Boston Tea Party. We threw away all their tea because they were hitting us with taxes on it. Tariffs weren't doing shit for the country. It sounded good. The only reason the tariffs were implemented is because we won the war and we were like, hey, we need to get some money back from what you motherfuckers did to us. But when I say us, I mean them, because they wasn't doing it to us black folk. That was them white folk that had that issue. They ain't had shit to do with us. This is way before the Civil War where we were actually trying to fight. Right now, we just now when they say black people, that wasn't our fight. That Boston Tea Party shit, that wasn't our fight. We ain't had nothing to do with that shit. That right there is between white folk and white folk. So when they talk about black on black crime, they got to point out that there has been more white on white crime in the world in history. We ain't even gonna go back to like all the Roman time and all that shit. But anyway, we're gonna bring that shit back to here in America. Wasn't shit going on in 1767 into 1773 when fucking Andrew Jackson was around. So tariffs didn't mean anything. It just sounds good. You know, Andrew, because ain't no one gonna go, yeah, I wonder what the tariffs were like with Andrew Jackson. Why were they so successful? What the fuck are we didn't have electricity or nothing. You didn't have to pay taxes. You didn't really have a job. If you did have a job, it was probably like, no disrespect, it was some bullshit. You may have worked at a little shop making back then, probably it wasn't even pennies back then. I don't know what they had. It was the bartering system. Like, hey man, look, I give you fix the horseshoe on my horse, nigga. I get you some motherfucking, you want some lettuce? I got lettuce over here today, you know? Like I got 4 candles. You get you do one horseshoe for 4 candles, and then for the other 3, I can get you some apples. But hold on, give me a second, because I gotta go see if the wife, hey, do we have any chopped wood? Because I'm gonna change that chopped wood and go get some of this cabbage, because I'm trying to get the horses. Yeah. No, damn it, I don't mean no. Listen, do we have any extra chopped wood that we can spare? Because then how are we gonna get the horseshoes done? Well, what are you yelling at me for? I just went to war with the British, and now you're yelling at me? See, we're not gonna get anywhere. We're not gonna get anywhere. And it's a simple question. We're trying to get the horseshoes fixed. We got one working horseshoe. Can you at least make some soup for Kyle? I'll go see if Kyle. Give me a second. Hey, Kyle, I know I said I can get you some apples. How about we make you soup? Can you do the other 3 horseshoes? All right, soup for 2 days. And you do the horseshoes? All right, cool. Like, this shit is just him just talking, man. It just talk. It doesn't mean anything. And it really be people in here that talk about, man, people are scared of change, man. He's really gonna change the world. But you showed me what, like, let me see something. Andrew Jackson was the president during the enactment of the tariff of 1832 and the tariff of 1833. These tariffs were part of a series of tariffs that were controversial and led to nullification crisis. Let's find out what the nullification crisis is. We're going to go down this rabbit hole. Let's see. You guys know what the nullification crisis is? The nullification crisis of 1832 was a conflict between who? The federal government in South Carolina over tariffs of foreign goods. This crisis was the first time that tension between the states and federal government almost led to a civil war. So Donald Trump said that America was the richest under Andrew Jackson when there were tariffs. But we just found out that there was a nullification crisis between the federal government, who is ran by Donald Trump, and the individual states. And guess what those states just going to happen to be? They're going to be blue states. All this did was divide the country and almost spark a civil war. But this is what he wants to mold it off after. And this is in our face. And people listen to it, talking about, yeah, man, them tariffs are good. You hear what he said about Andrew Jackson? But we just did a little history lesson, and we found out that when Andrew Jackson did this, it almost sparked off a civil war. Not the civil war that we know about. This was a prequel. This is before the war. You feel me? Yeah.
Andrew Jackson, a man named General Andrew Jackson of Tennessee. I wonder why they keep talking about Trump and Jackson, Jackson and Trump. Oh, I know the feeling, Andrew. I'm a big Andrew Jackson fan. Andrew Jackson was a military hero and genius and a beloved president. We had the greatest election. In all fairness, I used to hear Andrew Jackson. This was now greater than the election of Andrew Jackson. People say that. No, people say it. I'm not saying it. Right? This was the equivalent or greater. Today, I call attention to another anniversary, the 250th birthday of the very great Andrew Jackson. Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and Abraham Lincoln, and many of our greatest presidents fought with the media and called them out oftentimes on their lies. We are the country of Andrew Jackson. They say Andrew Jackson was always the nastiest campaign. They actually said we topped it. In the words of Andrew Jackson, farmers are the basis of society and true friends of liberty. Great story. Love that story. Have great respect for Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was called many names, accused of many things, and by fighting for change, earned many, many enemies. Jackson's life was devoted to one of very crucial principle. He understood that real leadership means putting America first. But that did not stop a man named General Andrew Jackson of Tennessee. Do you ever hear of Andrew Jackson of Tennessee? He was a great general and a great president. And his ragtag militia of patriots who were ready to fight to defend American independence. It's the state of Andrew Jackson, a great president and a great general, by the way. Andrew Jackson, who continues to be on the $20 bills. You know that. Federal agents arrested the suspected ringleader of the attack on the statue of the great Andrew Jackson in Washington, D.C. We've had a long and very storied history with Thailand. In fact, we were just mentioning that Andrew Jackson, who is on the wall, was the president when we first developed the big relationship. They wanted to rip down Andrew Jackson. They wanted to rip down George Washington. They were actually heading over to the Jefferson Memorial, if you can believe that. The very great Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Jackson. Well, that was a little history lesson because people don't. Well, yeah, man, America was the richest then under Andrew Jackson. We was about to go to war. I say we, I just mean the American people. I don't mean us because that wasn't we wasn't fighting for no freedom at that time. Them niggas was fighting over tariffs. So that's what they say. That's above my pay grade. I was just a lonely Negro then, so that was definitely above my pay. I'm not fighting over no tariffs. I ain't even got no money. I'm motherfucker out here working for free, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm not fighting over no damn tariffs. That's on you motherfuckers. But that was between the federal government and the states. What has he been talking about? We're not going to release aids to the states unless they conform and bend the knee to what we want. It's all right there in our face, and we're just watching it. We're just watching. I know black people say this ain't our fight, but for you Negroes that voted for him, we live in America. I know everyone says it isn't their fight, but hear me and hear me clearly. If you live in America and you pay your taxes, this is your fight. This is your fight. I don't want to hear it ain't my fight. We ain't got nothing. when something happened and black women talking about this ain't our fight, this is if you live in America, if you are an American citizen or you pay your taxes in America, then this is your fight. There's no way to get out of it. It's your fight too. It's unfortunate we in this situation, but this is your fight too. I live overseas. People try to, oh, you live in Germany. Nigga, I'm still an American. This is what it is, man. It is what it is. Now, I don't have to deal with it as much because I'm over here living off the German economy, but I still got to deal. I still get the emails. Everything they talk about, it don't really, it affects me in a little aspect, but for the most part, like, man, this is our fight, man. He's doing Andrew Jackson's dream, not Dr. King's dream. Yeah, there you go. Andrew Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, the nullification crisis. So the tariffs back then in 1832, which imposed tariffs on imported goods, reaching rates as high as 45% on certain items, significantly impacting the Southern economy, relying on exporting cotton. What I just tell y'all, I'll tell you, we're going to go on a history lesson. Sometimes it ain't the history we want, but we always going to go on a history lesson. What I just tell you, we ain't fighting on no terrorists. We out here working. I already knew everything that was getting taxed. When they mentioned a southern state, I already knew what I say. This ain't our fight on terrorists. We ain't paying we ain't got no money. We working. We slaves. This ain't that ain't our fight. Y'all fighting over money that we ain't got. And this is, like I said, the prequel to the actual Civil War. This was the buildup. The federal government, like, hey, we want to put tariffs. The South was like, nah, hell no, we working these slaves. We got a bottom line to meet. It is what it is. That's America for you. Well, let's continue on. Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United. Everybody put a round of applause in the chat for Andrew Jackson, the 7th president, El Presidente of America.